welcome back to my channel. I am very excited about today's video. I know I say that about every video, but you know what I mean. I'm excited to film always, but this one I'm particularly excited for because it is a direct request from my followers on Instagram. So I'm really happy to be able to film this for you. The other day I posted on Instagram a little picture that said, I'm thinking of filming some videos this week. Before I start, what would you like to see? And I had a few requests for like an in-depth eye tutorial. So starting off with something natural, like a daytime look, and then transitioning to nighttime, how to do that, how to do winged liner, how to put on false lashes. A lot of questions were focused on the eyes. So as you can see, I have my face done already. I have my foundation on, blush, bronzer, blush, bronzer, highlight, everything like that. Brows are done, lips are done, everything but the eyes are done. So today is gonna be solely focused on the eyes. And I've never done this before. Usually when I do a tutorial, it's full face. I don't think I've ever just done an eye tutorial. So I'm really excited to bring you that today. So what I'm gonna be doing is starting with like a daytime look, something that would be great to wear to work. Obviously right now we're all pretty much staying home unless you are an essential worker. So this could even be something that if you are like going on Zoom meetings, you know, doing FaceTime, anything like that, this would be a look that would be good for that type of situation. Or when we do finally get to go back to work, that'll be something that'll be good for that. It's gonna be really easy and quick, but just something that'll make your eyes pop. And then I was thinking I would transition it into a nighttime look by darkening it up a little bit, adding a winged liquid liner, showing you in depth how to achieve that, because I know that is probably the hardest thing to do. I totally get that. And putting on some false lashes. And we're actually gonna be doing two different kinds of lashes because I have two preferences. So typically on my clients, I do makeup for my job. And typically on my clients, I do use this little guy. So this is a little container of individual cluster lashes. And I just put them in this little jar just to save some space. These are by Sonia Roselli Beauty. So on my clients, I use these because I'm standing above my client so they can look down and I can apply the lashes really easily. I have tried to do individual lashes on myself and it's definitely more challenging, but I figured we could take that journey today and see how it works. And if I am able to find a good technique, then it'll be good that I can pass that on to you. But I also do have regular false lashes that I'll put on one eye and show you how to do those as well. Let's finish blabbering and get right into the video. I'm gonna zoom you guys nice and close so you can see everything that I'm doing, and I'll show you all the products I'm using and talk in depth. This might be a long video, but it's only gonna be on eyes, so it'll be really fun. Okay. Up close and personal. I have a few palettes that I wanted to kind of dip into today. These I've been loving, and I think I mentioned them in a recent video. These are the e.l.f. bite-size palettes. My two favorites are Cream and Sugar and Truffles. This is Cream and Sugar. It's a nice bronzy, kind of really easy, neutral, everyday eyeshadow palette. And then this is Truffles, and it just gets a little bit darker, but these are the two of the most natural ones I believe they offer, so I picked those up, and we might dip into those today. But then I also wanted to possibly dip into the Colourpop Bare Necessities palette, which just has, you know, a ton of color options, so we really have a lot to choose from there, and they're really affordable, so that's a plus. So let's get into it. Unfortunately, neither of those palettes have mirrors, so we will have to grab a little one to use, but that is okay. So for my eyes, typically for priming my eyes, I usually just use my concealer when I'm blending it out under my eyes. I'll bring whatever's left over onto the lid and then dust whatever powder I'm using to set my face on my eyelids as well. You can use something like a MAC paint pot. That's definitely an option. They have the shades Painterly and Soft Ochre, which are good like neutral tones. I think they have some darker ones too, so if you have a darker skin tone, you probably can find something. I honestly haven't used eyeshadow primer in a really long time. I've been sticking more to just like the concealer, just to even out the lid and just setting it with a little bit of powder. So I just want to go over brushes really quick because honestly, like any makeup look is not going to be achievable unless you have the correct brushes. And that's one thing, whenever I'm doing makeup lessons with my clients, and it's totally understandable, but brushes are always like the last thing that they purchase or have in their collection, like have a wide range of. So that's one of the only struggles that we really ever have, is just trying to achieve a look but not having the right tools to do that. So for brushes, first things first, you always want to have at least one fluffy crease brush. So I have two here. Both are actually from Morphe. They're just different lines. This is the R38 and this is the E27. So this one's more of like a synthetic fiber, a little bit softer. This one's a little bit fluffier and more of like a natural fiber. I'm not sure if it is actually natural or synthetic, but it just has that like a little bit of a rougher feeling. Both of these are really good though. Just anything really like this that can really diffuse the color in your crease. You want to have some sort of smaller crease brush. Right here I have the Morphe E17, Morphe M514, and Smith 247. This is definitely a pricier brush, but I just wanted to kind of show you the shape. A lot of brands have brushes like this, but these are the shapes of the 3 brushes. So this one's a little bit wider and then skinnier there. This one's just a smaller version of the fluffier blending brush, and then this one's a little bit denser and stoutier, I guess you could say. So those are important. And then finally, a few smaller brushes. You always want to have a pencil brush on hand. This can be used for the inner corner, it can be used for the lower lash line. I have a really tiny pencil brush as well. This is a Morphe M515. This I use for like details, and then an angled shadow brush. If you have any questions about brushes, you can leave them down below. I love brushes, so I'd be happy to chat. Let's get into it now that I've talked your ears off. Oh, I wish I asked you guys ahead of time what palette you wanted me to use. I kind of want to use the Bare Necessities just because it has so many color options. So let's dip into this first. We might go into the e.l.f. ones. We'll see. I'm going to start off with the fluffiest blending brush. First, we're going to dip into Hot Gossip right here. So any kind of neutral brown crease shade is what you're going to want to grab first. Nothing too dark. And you always want to tap the excess product off of your brush, or you're just going to have a patch of product stuck on your eye. So holding the brush kind of at an angle, 45-degree angle, I'm going to look down into my mirror and start going in circular motions from the outer corner into the inner corner. And I'm placing this directly where if I press my eye in, that's where the natural crease is. I like to do the circular motions and then blend it back and forth. And this gives you a really nice, diffused, beautiful blend. So the first look we're doing is the daytime look. So it's going to be really natural and really easy to achieve. If you are rushing to get to work or something like that, this will be really easy to do. Next up, I'm going to take just a little bit of a smaller brush, and we're going to take Tabloid. So this is staying in the same color family, in that kind of neutral to warm browns. And the reason I'm using a smaller brush is because with darker colors, we do want to be more precise with where we're applying them. So I'm just taking a little bit of a smaller brush. This isn't totally necessary, but it's all about control. You want to be able to control exactly where you're placing the product to get the look you want. So smaller brushes give you more control. I'm going to focus this right on the outer corner, bring it down into my lash line, and then whatever's left on the brush, we're staying a little bit lower in the crease, but we're kind of doing the same motions as we did with the shade Hot Gossip. This is just going to increase the shadow on the eye and make your eye shape really pop. We're basically like contouring the eyes right now. If you want to really pack the product on, you're going to want to do that tapping motion that I was just doing. Like right there is where I want most product, and then the rest of it, I'm going to do circular motions to blend out. So I'd say that's where I would stop for a daytime look. You can always go back in with your fluffiest brush and blend over the edges so there's no harsh lines. But I feel like for most people, this is what you'd want to do for like a work or something, or just going out for brunch, just something really easy. As far as the crease goes, we're still going to add in another color. I totally forgot to grab a brush for the eyelid, for the lid area. So I apologize for that, but you can definitely use something like this, kind of just a flat shader, nice and thin. Typically, honestly, I usually just use my finger just because I get the most payoff with my finger, but I'll show you both. I'll do brush on one eye and my finger on the other. I'm gonna stick with the Bare Necessities palette and go in with Silk Teddy, which is this really nice shimmery shade. I love using like a shimmery, peachy gold, something like that on the lid with this type of look. It'll really highlight the lid and make your eyes pop. So I'm just laying the brush flat into that shade and then tapping off the excess. And for placement, I'm going to place the most color towards the inner corner, and then slowly drag that shade out into the outer corner. And you don't really want to go above this crease area right here, just because we're highlighting the lid and then we already contoured the crease. So we don't want to really layer those. Just adding a little bit more. And then I always go back in with the fluffiest brush again, just to really make sure everything's diffused. So with a brush, it gives you a nice light finish. I'm just gonna be using my pointer finger for this. And basically I'll just do the same placement where I start on the inner corner and I'm just tapping with my finger. And this is gonna give you way more of a metallic finish than with the brush. Placement might be a little bit harder using your finger, might be a little bit messier, but that's totally fine. Just go back in with this brush here and again blend those edges out. So you pretty much get a very similar product finish. You could stick with that little brush, or I just like to have separate brushes for everything because I have the brushes, so I might as well use them. I'm just gonna take a pencil brush, take the shade Idle Hour, and I just have the product just on one side of the brush. I'm gonna tap it off, and this is what I'm gonna use to highlight my inner corners. So for placement here, I'm just literally placing the brush right on the inner corner, and then I'm gonna drag whatever's left over and blend that into the lid shade. That's just really gonna open up your eyes and make them pop even more. You could use whatever highlight you used for your face, you can use on your eyes for your inner corner if you wanted. That's totally optional. I'm also gonna take this shade into my brow bone. So it's gonna go right under the arch of my brow, really, really lightly, and I like to blend that out with my finger a bit. This is gonna help to lift the brows. Now I'm just taking a clean pencil brush. This is the Morphe, I think it's R41. For the lower lash line, that's what we're gonna work on next. These are the brushes that we've used so far. You could reuse this brush, but because it does have the inner corner highlight on it, that's gonna mix in with our lower lash line shade and it might not look the best. This one you could use, we actually might use it to blend. This one for the lower lash line, because it's a little bit large, is not gonna give you the most precise application, so this might be a little bit messy. This is just a little too stiff for the lower lash line, and this one's way too fluffy. So for that reason, I would go and grab one more brush, at least for this shadow part. And I'm gonna go with the same colors. I'm actually just gonna mix Tabloid and Hot Gossip on the tip of this brush, tap it off. And this one's a little bit fluffier, I guess. And starting on the outer corner, I'm gonna start dragging that back and forth towards the inner third. Then I'm just gonna brush this brush that we used earlier off a little bit. Just gonna take a tiny bit of just Hot Gossip, the lightest crease shade that we used, and I'm gonna blend over that line really lightly. With all these brushes, not pressing very hard. I'm using more of a light hand just because, again, a lighter hand will give you more control. The harder you press, the more product is gonna get stamped on your eye, and then it's gonna be harder to blend out. So always going in with the lightest hand possible, blending back and forth. And you do always wanna do something on your lower lash line, or just feel like it really completes the eye and makes everything blend. It really makes the eyes pop. Make sure your upper lid and your bottom lid blend together. So this is what we have so far. You could totally throw on mascara, go do your thing. I am gonna keep going step by step a little bit further and further just so you guys can see the different things you can do with a simple look like this. And if this is too much for you, by the way, I know I kind of skipped over that, you can totally just take Hot Gossip in the crease and then do your lid shade and be out the door. You don't have to do a darker color, you don't have to do the highlight and stuff. If you wanna just make it easy, totally just use those two shadows just to kind of contour the crease and then highlight the lid, and you're good. Throw on some mascara. This would be a little bit amped up if you have a little bit more time. If you do have any more time, I know a lot of people don't, but I am gonna go over this just in case you do. I would then go in with a really dark shade. You could either use a really dark brown or a black. This palette has this really nice dark chocolate brown right here, and this one as well. I do like to do brown for this step just because it's gonna give you the most natural look, whereas black will be a little bit harsher. And what I'm gonna do now, you guys have seen on my channel a million times, this is my signature little smoky wing. I always like to have an angled brush. This is from Real Techniques, brush 202. So just a little angled guy. I'm gonna dip into the shade Taboo. The other one had a little bit of sparkle in it, so I don't really wanna use that. If you do have this little e.l.f. palette, you could use this shade right here, but we're sticking to the Colourpop one for now. So what we're gonna do is create a little wing with shadow, which is gonna give a really nice natural look, but it's going to enhance your lashes. It's going to make your eyes pop even more and give a little bit more definition. So I love doing this. It also kind of lifts your eyes as well, because we're going to do a little bit of a wing. This is where we got to get really up close and personal, because you want to see exactly how I'm holding the brush. I'm holding it from above to start, and I'm going to drag it along the outer half of my lid. I don't usually go further than that. Once I've built that up, then I'm going to take the brush with the longer end of the angle on the outer corner of my eye, and I'm just going to stamp it a few times, kind of flicking it out a little bit to get that nice little sharp line. And then holding the brush with the longest part of the angle towards the outside, I'm going to place it here and just connect those lines. And you don't want to place the brush all the way at the end of that line you made first, because then it'll get too thick. So I like to place it about halfway down that line, and that's where I make the connection to the line going across our lashes. So that's going to give you a really nice natural wing that is then going to make your lashes look longer, make your eyes really pop. You can go in with a little pencil brush if you want and blend that line out if it's a little too harsh for you. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and do that little shadow wing on the other eye, and then we will start to transition this look to nighttime. I'm back. I think this kind of look, obviously we'd add mascara, but I'm going to wait to do that until we finish putting on all of the eyeshadow, just because that can get a little messy. But throw on some mascara, and this is a great extra daytime look. I would say tone this down a little bit for maybe like really chill days where you don't have to impress anyone. But if you have like a meeting or something and you really want your eyes to pop and everything to look really nice and polished, this would be a great look for that. And you'll only need the one palette, and I used about 6 brushes, which again, the Morphe ones are really great and not too much of an investment, so I would highly recommend those. Let's move on. Somebody did request, how did you like your day to night transition? So let's imagine that you were at work, you had this makeup on or something similar, and you want to amp it up. I'm showing you every step so you can choose what works best for you and for your lifestyle. So the first thing I would do is darken up the eyeshadow just a little bit, just to really, you want to make it a little bit smokier, want to make it pop a little bit more. So the darkest shade that we used to create this look was Taboo, but we only used that to create the liner. So what I'm actually going to do is go back into Taboo with the smaller fluffy brush that we used in the beginning. I'm going to use this shade to actually smoke out the crease and kind of blend it into that liner that we did, because we are going to go in with a black liquid liner that'll go over what we did before, so we don't have to worry about messing that up at all. Just taking a little bit of product on my brush. Don't ever forget to tap, that is very important. I'm going to place this right on top of the smoky liner that we did, circular motions, and start bringing it up into the crease. I want to focus this just on like that outer V area to begin with, and then start blending it into the rest of the eye. So that already really intensified everything. I'm going to take the fluffiest brush with a little bit of Tabloid and Hot Gossip and just blend over what we just put on. I'm going to intensify the crease a little bit, bring everything up a little bit higher, just a little bit. We don't want it going all the way up to the brows, but we want it to be a little bit more noticeable now. So I amped it up a little bit. I take the little pencil brush now and tap back and forth between Spyglass and Baubles and tap that off a lot. This is going to be pretty pigmented, and this is really going to intensify things, so I'm not going to do much. I just want a little bit more depth in my eyes. And I'm really just focusing this down on the lash line. Just really adding that nice shadow to the crease and along the lashes. Once you've done that, now we're going to intensify that lower lash line with the pencil brush. Just kind of brush it on something just to get all that black off. I don't know that I really want to have black on my lower lash line very intensely, so I'm just going to kind of brush that off. You can do it on the back of your hand as well. And we're just going to take, starting with Taboo, that kind of medium darkish brown shade that we used on the tip of this brush, and we're going to connect that outer corner now with the lower lash line, darkening everything. You don't have to bring this color all the way in. I'd usually go maybe like 2/3 of the way. Do the same thing with that medium kind of fluffy brush, taking Hot Gossip, the lightest brown that we used, and really blending this line out. So it looks really blended, and blending it into the upper lid as well. And now I'm gonna go around everything with the fluffiest brush and just make sure it all looks nice. Look in a mirror that's a little bit more of like from a distance and make sure that you like how it looks from there as well. I think that looks pretty good, nice and deep. Now for your lid, I'm probably just gonna go in with the same shade that I used before, but just intensify it with the brush a little bit. You can spray your brush with a little bit of Fix Plus or water or something if you want the color to be really intense. I think it comes off pretty nicely with this brush on its own, so I'm just gonna pack that on a little bit more, just to really make it nice and metallic. Just with the same brush, I'm gonna pop a little bit more of the inner corner shade on. And that's it for the shadows. I would say that's pretty intense and will definitely show up at night if you're out. If you are doing something like this and you're transitioning your eyes from day to night, I would quickly just transition your face from day to night as well. Just adding a little bit more blush just to make everything even now that your eyes are really popping. My face, if you noticed, once I did that, my face kind of looked a little bit dull. So I would definitely go in with a little bit more blush or bronzer, something like that. Maybe a little extra highlight as well. Now that we're really, you know, intensifying things, you could totally do that. When you are transitioning, if you're not removing all your face makeup like I just didn't, then you might get a little bit of fallout. You want to be careful. Just grab like a little brush like this, something kind of fluffy that you can dust any fallout away with, just because if you're in a rush and you don't want to have to redo your entire face, you might just need to dust that away. Now we are, I think, on to like the most fun part, and I feel like this is the most important part of this video, is liquid liner. So I recently got the Pat McGrath Labs liquid liner. It's very pricey, so if you're not into that, you don't want to spend the money, don't get it, because it's not any more special than any other liquid liner. I do like the Kat Von D tattoo liner as well. Mine just dried up, unfortunately. I haven't really tried too many drugstore liquid liners, unfortunately, so I don't have a great recommendation for that, so I apologize. But yes, we're gonna do this, and you can really just find whatever one works for you, assuming you weigh in again so you can see everything I'm doing. So for this, we're kind of following a similar guide as we did with the shadow liner, and it's really nice if you wanted to keep that shadow liner intact. I know we blended it away before, but if you want to keep that intact and use it as a guide for when you want to do liquid liner, that's a really good idea, because shadow's a little bit easier to play with. It's not as definite like a liquid liner. Once you get it on there, it's not moving. So make a little map with your shadow and then go over it with liquid liner, and that's a really good trick. So I'm going to start by just taking the eyeliner. This is kind of like a felt tip, I believe, and I'm going to use it as a stamp. This is a really good trick, a lot steadier than trying to like line things like this. We're going to hold it to the side, kind of perpendicular, right? Perpendicular, yeah, with our lash line. And I'm literally just with the tip of the liner, just going to start stamping it right where my lashes meet my lid. You always want to rest your pinky on your cheek. Make sure there's no makeup on your pinky, because that's a disaster, but rest it on your cheek to have a nice steady hand. This time I am going to bring it into the inner corner, and I'm just going to make sure when I get to that very inner corner, I'm only using the tip of the liner so it stays nice and thin. And now I'm just really steadily thickening that line a little bit. That's going to be our starting point. You can leave it like that, but I personally prefer the wing shape. I feel like it really lifts my eyes up. So now for the actual wing part, I'm gonna hold the liner so that it's going straight out from like my lower lash line. And my trick with the shape for a liner is that you want to basically imagine that your lower lash line is going all the way out, being extended, and will eventually meet your brow if both of them were extended. Does that make sense? It's kind of how I imagine it. And again, you want to make sure you're always looking down into a mirror. This helps to get the most lid space. I'm going to hold the liner going along with my lower lash line, placing the smallest part of the brush right on that outer corner, and slowly dragging it up. You can stop there. I like mine a little bit longer. When you're getting to that outer corner where you want the liner to kind of end, you want to be going with a really light hand and almost doing like a little flick. That'll give you that really nice, thin, sharp line. So now that you have that, you're gonna take the tip of the liner again, and like I said earlier, I'm not gonna now place the tip of that liner all the way on the outside of the wing because that would just make it thicker again. I want it to be nice and tapered off. So I'm gonna place the tip of the liner kind of halfway, maybe like 3/4 down from the end of the wing, right about here, and I'm gonna start dragging that line towards the lash line. And you basically, when you look down, want this whole line to look pretty straight. So we're gonna work on that now. I'm gonna fill in this little area. See how now we have like a really thick line and then all of a sudden it gets really thin? So with just the tip of the brush, I'm gonna start going back and forth over that little area to fill it in. And now you've seen how I fix my wings if I make them a little too long or wonky. So I would say that's pretty good. This liner dries pretty fast, so there's not much wiggle room. You have to work pretty quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other eye like I would normally do without talking, just so you can see hopefully how, you know, it would normally go. But I'm just gonna shake it up, refresh the tip of the brush a little bit, and go ahead and do the other eye. So check what you've done so far. I do like to take the mirror and hold it kind of farther away. Make sure you look down, make sure those lines are nice and straight. The wings are about the same length. If you have one wing that's a little bit longer than the other, I would say to just make the other one match it and make the other one longer, just because it's easier to add product than to take away. And with that also, I would start with your wings pretty small. Don't try to like go for it right away with like a big thick wing or anything, because again, you're not going to be able to remove it. It's easier to build up a wing than to tone it down. It's really not possible. So I would say that's what I typically do for a winged liner. If you're really struggling to get this line on top to be nice and sharp and even, it's really hard to do, so I totally get that. Just take a really small kind of detail brush, or you can even use the angled brush we used before. I just like this because it gets you a little bit more like a fluffy blending application rather than the pencil one, which is more of a precise application. But anyways, I would go in with a brush like this, take a tiny bit of black shadow, and just blend right along that top line, like the top of your wing, and that'll just even everything out. I do that a lot on my clients because my clients do use a gel liner, so I like to use a black shadow on top to set it as well as fill in any gaps. So that's a little tip that you can definitely do if you're struggling with your liner. And I'm gonna add in some mascara now, finally. What I've been using lately is the Benefit Bad Gal Bang mascara, so we're gonna apply that. So I always do the top lashes on my right eye first, and then whatever's left over on the wand is what I bring onto my lower lash line. Guys, I'm so glam right now and I have nowhere to go. And we're about to amp it up even more with lashes. Oh, and I did forget to mention that you can totally curl your lashes before you or after you put on your mascara. My lashes are already pretty curly on their own, so I don't tend to curl them. If you curl them before, just hold them down for a pretty long time, just so it really retains that shape. If you do it after, just after you put on mascara, just make sure mascara dries before you curl them, just so you're not ripping out your lashes. If I'm being honest, I'm not really a false lash queen. I rarely put false lashes on myself, only like maybe once or twice a year when I'm just going out getting dressed up and I have the time and feel like it. So I know how to put them on, but it might not be the most beautiful experience, so I apologize for that. But I'm gonna go ahead and put on one eye with the strip lash, and one eye we're gonna attempt to put on the individual lashes. These are the Ardell Studio Effects 233s. These are all I really have on hand at the moment for strip lashes. So my first tip is to take the strip lash and wiggle it around. You want to really loosen the band on the lash just to make it easier to like kind of conform to your eye shape. And then we're never really going to go right in with the lash. We want to measure it out before we apply it because it could be longer than your actual lash line. I do love this tool right here. This is from Kiss and it came in, I think, one of their sets with a bunch of lashes. I'm not too sure, but it's just like this nice little angled tweezer. Makes it really easy to apply lashes. So I just hold the lash like that and take the mirror and place the lash where I would put it. I like to start on the inner corner. That's where I place it first. And then we'll trim any outer corner that's kind of hanging over, which I definitely see. These are too long for me, so what I'm gonna do, trim a little bit of the end off. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now we're gonna go in with adhesive. This is the strip lash adhesive with aloe from Kiss. This is really nice because it's formaldehyde free. I usually put a little bit of the lash glue into the case and then pick up a little bit on the tip of the actual lash glue. And then what we're gonna do is just trace it along the band of the lash. You don't need a ton. You just want it to be able to get nice and tacky, but you don't want to overdo it. Make sure you also get like the ends of the lashes, kind of on the sides, and then we're gonna fan the lash around. This is to let the adhesive get nice and tacky. Right now it's really wet, so if we tried to apply this lash, it just wouldn't really stick. So you want to fan it off a little bit, let it get tacky so that when you place it on your lid, it does stick down. It's a lot easier to work with. I wouldn't recommend blowing on it, especially at this time, just because it's not very sanitary. Okay, so once you start to see the glue kind of lose its opacity, like it becomes a little less white and a little bit more clear, that's when you're gonna wanna apply it. Now I'm looking down into my mirror, it's all the way down here, looking down because I want my lashes to be as flat as possible. And I'm placing it down right in the center. So I'm really using this tool to my advantage. I'm using the tip of it to really grab the lashes and wiggle them into place on the inner and outer corners. Make sure you're bringing it all the way down to the lash line. I don't want too much of a gap. And then I'm using the larger end and I'm gonna clamp along the lash line. I'm gonna clamp my natural lashes down with the false lashes. All right, so that adhesive is gonna dry clear. I haven't worn lashes in a while, so it is bothering my inner corner a little bit, but I always tell my clients that it is gonna bother you in the beginning if you're not used to wearing them, but it'll immediately go away once everything dries and you get used to it. And then my last little trick for lashes is to take a lash curler. You wanna make sure that the adhesive is as dry as possible. You just wanna clamp your natural lashes in with the false ones. And this is gonna really make everything seamless and make your natural lashes blend in with the false lashes. It's kind of crazy what that does. Now, the last thing I would do, just to make everything seamlessly blend together, is take a black pencil liner. I love the Marc Jacobs one, this is a mini. And we're gonna tight line, which is where we line the upper waterline. This is gonna make the lashes look super black and dense. You're not gonna see any gaps. So I'm gonna hold the liner kind of up and down with my eye and just trace it along under my lashes. That's it, and that just makes everything look amazing. So now we're gonna attempt to apply some individual clusters to this eye. So I just have, like I said, my little pot of loose lashes. Just gonna start with the size medium just to make my outer corner nice and long. And I just put a little bit of adhesive right in the lash tray here. You can put it on the back of your hand, wherever. With the same little tool, I'm just gonna pick up a lash right on the end. I don't know if you can see that. I want to make it really easy for the lash to kind of angle with my lashes. I'm just going to dip the base of the lash into the adhesive. You just want a tiny, tiny bit. Again, I'm not sure if you can see that, it's so tiny. Again, looking way down, we're going to wiggle that into the lash line and just drop it. And once you have it set, you don't really need to touch it. Just make sure that it's really in that lash line, not sitting on your lid or anything. You want it to really blend in with the lashes. Pick up another one, dip it in the adhesive again, and apply it right next to that one, going further into the outer corner. My lashes are really curly, so this gets to be a little bit hard for me. You're gonna kind of have to work with it and figure out where you need to place it so that it's going in between your lashes and really blending with them naturally. It's definitely a little bit of a learning curve for sure. The clusters, they're not the same as strips and they definitely take a lot longer. But they're really natural and really pretty, and it's all I really use on my brides. So if you're looking for a more natural option, this would be it. So I just placed 3 of the medium length on the outer corner. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. What is really nice about individual lashes is that your lash line can be totally customizable. So I can do really natural. I could just place a few lashes here and there to build volume. I can do a bunch of lashes and have it be like mega volume. It's totally customizable, which is amazing. So now I'm gonna take the short length and do the rest of my eye with the short length. If your little dot of glue does dry up, make sure to refresh it because you want it to be still nice and liquidy. And we are going to use that same clamp technique with the lash curler with this set of lashes as well. So don't feel like you have to get it right in the lashes or anything. We are going to clamp them down so it'll get to be more natural once we do that. I'm gonna go ahead and start building a little bit more volume by just adding a few more short lashes all throughout the lash line. And you can layer these, which is really nice. All right, I think that's where I'm going to stop. I think that looks really pretty and natural, whereas this is very glam. So that actually wasn't as hard as I thought. Yes, it did definitely take longer. So if you don't have the time, probably not gonna be able to do the individuals, but I think that looks so pretty, natural, and fluttery. I definitely prefer this eye to this eye. These lashes are a little bit much for me. I'm gonna wait for these to dry. We're gonna clamp them down with the lash curler. I'm gonna do the same thing with the Marc Jacobs liner, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so that is it for today's video. I personally feel like this was one of my most in-depth videos ever. I talked through every single little thing, and I really enjoyed it because I just love makeup. I really hope this helps you guys when you are doing your makeup. I know it was really long, but I wanted to cover everything possible. If you have any questions at all, be sure to leave a comment down below or DM me on Instagram. DMing me on Instagram will probably get you a faster response, so if it's something kind of urgent, DM me there. It's at Beauty by Chelsea Day, same as YouTube. I'd love to chat with you guys about eyeshadow, all things eyes and makeup, so definitely comment or message me, whatever you want to do. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. It lets me know what kind of videos you guys are liking so I know what to create for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. That's it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.